Welcome to the Whurthy Services training video series. This is Module 6, Whurthy Automation. In this first video, we're going to walk through Whurthy checklists and people. We'll start by overviewing what Whurthy automation is. Then we'll take a look at the PEeP or Process Expertise Profile List. And then finally, we'll finish the video by looking at LEE, the Learned Experience Engine. But before we take a look, let's have a review. Whurthy automation allows Whurthy services to assign the right information to the right people at the right time. Whurthy automation is a basic form of AI, or artificial intelligence. The design intention is that, for the most part, you won't need to make any changes. However, you will need to make changes to this aspect of Whurthy services as your team, your people, or your procedures change. The PEeP list, the Process Expertise Profile, allows workflow tasks to be assigned to the right person at the right time. If one of your team members changes, and they had responsibility for a task, then you can go into the PEeP list and change the team member or staff member that is assigned responsibility. For example, you may have one person who was serving as a concierge or receptionist, and then they move into another position, and then you replace them with another team member, and then you would go into the PEeP list to make that change. So we will look at that in the next part of the video. In addition, we have the Learned Experience Engine. This allows workflow tasks to have the right information and to evolve over time. When we talk about right information, the design intention really concerns checklists and procedures. By default, out of the gate, when the Whurthy Services application is installed for you, there will be the core information required in the context of Whurthy Services already entered into task descriptions. However, there may be situations, very valid, where you want to introduce additional information or policy or checklists that you want those who are responsible for those tasks to observe. For example, in the previous module, we looked at vacation requests. The information entered into the learned experience record for that task is quite simple. However, you may have a checklist or policy related to vacations and guidance and instructions that you want both the person who is approving vacation requests and the person who is submitting vacation requests to observe. And this is what we mean by the idea of learned experience engine. Through learned experience, you then can adapt and refine those entries in LEE to then provide the evolved information to future tasks. Now, with that reviewed, let's dive in and have a look at both the PEeP list and LEE. So for clarity, the intended audience of this video is super users. So I'm going to look over to the right-hand sidebar, the Whurthy links, and I'm going to scroll down. And as is always the case, we're going to look for administration. Now, what we've done is underneath the public holidays link, we've got the link for LEE, we've got the link for PEePs, and we've just added the AI acronym there just to help with clarity as to what these particular lists are about. It's quite possible that you may never need to change these entries. That being said, people do come and go from organizations, and as organizations evolve, the information they want to provide to their people evolves as well. And that's really at the heart of the design intention behind both of these particular features of Whurthy services. So let's have a look at the PEeP list. It's really quite simple. I'm going to click on the PEePs link here. And so now we come into a list that looks a little different. We have the ability to create a PEeP entry, and it does tell us the number of PEeP entries that are entered in. When Whurthy Services is set up for you, the Whurthy team will take care of adding the initial PEeP entries. And at this point of the Whurthy Services design cycle, there are currently 10 PEeP entries. There won't really be any advantage from you creating PEeP entries. We do allow for our clients to be able to add PEeP entries, mainly from a record keeping or a memory point of view. But really what we would expect is more likely there to be an edit or a revision. And most likely when it comes to the PEeP list, the actual person who is responsible would be changing. So in general, at the second card here, you have the ability to search. We can search by who is responsible and we can search by their supervisor. Currently in this installation, we can see we've got a cancellation coordinator, a request coordinator, an email campaign reviewer. This email campaign reviewer would only be applicable if you had the Whurthy marketing feature activated within your installation of Whurthy services. Cancellation approver, the prepayment coordinator, the waitlist reviewer. Then we have the support functionality. So tier 1 support should be someone in your organization. Tier 2 and tier 3 will be someone in the Whurthy team. What you'll also notice in each of these rows as well, we can see that we have not only the person responsible, but a detailed description. The purpose of the detailed description is just to help provide the clarity as to what this particular person who is responsible would be doing. So Whurthy Services is actually, it exists in another form known as Whurthy Events. So the main focus for this video series is Whurthy Services. So the cancellation coordinator will be assigned tasks that results from booking being cancelled for a host or a venue or a service provider, a location, and for services that are made inactive in services. So again, the main thing is to understand when you look at the process function, that really should give you a pointing direction, guidance as to the person who is responsible. Now, we would expect from many organizations, if you're a smaller organization and you turn workflow approval off, you have the workflow inactive in the global settings, then the PEeP list is going to be much less relevant for you because there really will be fewer workflows that run, because basically the approval is assumed to be given. So when you look at all of the process functions with the word approver in them, if your workflows are inactive, if your approval workflow are inactive, then these approver people or the people assigned to these approver functions, they won't actually get assigned a task. But if the approval workflow is active, then they will. There are a number of tasks related to coordinator or reviewer that really just speak to the work that needs to be done. So there's a couple of tasks in that perspective. So whilst we don't need to worry about creating an entry, it is worth taking a look at how to edit. So we have the ability just to click on the link as usual, and then we can see the description. We can click on the edit PEeP entry button, and then we're able to change who is responsible. It's quite likely that this form will look different for you. I'm looking at it as a Whurthy team member, so we're able to make more comprehensive changes. You won't see the form quite like this, but what you will see is responsible. You can then enter their display name, and you then get to select a Whurthy team. You shouldn't need to change that. And it is an opportunity. It is your choice as to whether or not you enter a supervisor. So this will be relevant for larger organizations. So if we think about our design intention for Whurthy Services, there's probably 3 tiers of organization. So the first is the smaller organization that really is run and staffed by the owners. So maybe you're running your own massage therapy clinic and you take care of your own bookings. So you would be both responsible and you would be the supervisor. Then there is the sort of next tier in the hierarchy where maybe you've got a number of service providers and you've got a receptionist or concierge who manages the administrative type tasks, and you set them up as a business admin. So you may have that business admin, that receptionist, that concierge, you may have them responsible for all of the review type tasks, all of the coordination type tasks. And as the owner or the director of the service providing organization, then you would be the supervisor. And you would then, as the approver, if you were the owner or the director or whatnot, then you might assign all of those approver type tasks to yourself. So in effect, what Whurthy Services will do for that mid-tier of organization is to simplify and to automate getting the approval task to the appropriate authority, and then getting the review or coordination task to the administrator, the person who's taking care of making sure that, things are going well, that everything is taken care of. And then the third tier of organization related to perhaps having multiple locations, for example. So what will happen there is our recommendation for those larger organizations is you might then have a central dispatching person who then reassigns a task to someone in a local location. Now, we are aware at this particular release of Whurthy, we focused our design intention on those first two tiers, so the smaller organizations and the mid-sized organizations. If you are a Whurthy client and you are a larger organization with multiple locations, for example, and you would like to see a little bit more sophistication and rigor in this, at least at the time of recording this video, that isn't fully fleshed out and built yet. It certainly is on our roadmap, but we would like to hear from you if this is something that you are interested in. But basically, the main focus of editing a PEeP entry is really to allow for a change in personnel, a change in team member. Someone perhaps has left the organization, or there's been a change in role and someone else is taking over. And so when that happens, the only thing you need to remember to do is to go in and change the particular entries in the PEeP list. And again, you can always reach out to the Whurthy team, put in a support ticket, and we'll help guide you through that if you're not clear. One final note on the list of responsible and supervisors: only those accounts that are identified as staff are going to appear in this list. And our recommendation would typically be that those people, those team members that you make responsible for these tasks, that you also assign them as business admins as well. It would just make it a little bit more fluid for them, and it's less likely that they'll bump into an issue where they can't access a certain list. So the general rule of thumb, if you've got people, your team members who are going to be responsible, have them as business admins, and then that will take care of them being able to see what they need to see to be able to fully take care of these duties. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the right-hand side now. So we're going to dive and take a look at the Learned Experience Engine. So whereas the process expertise profile focused on making sure the right person was assigned the right task at the right time, the Learned Experience Engine is really about making sure that the right people have the right information. And it can't be understated how important this can be, how valuable this can be, how much time this can save, particularly if you've got certain procedures or tasks or activities where you want to have specific things done. In our experience, one of the greatest challenges is that the tools that team members are given are perhaps the greatest influencer as to the quality of work being done. If you think about it, if you think about a painter painting a masterpiece, if they're working with, a raggedy canvas and poor quality paints, it's going to have an impact on the end result. And we believe it's the same when it comes to providing information. And that's where this idea of the Learned Experience Engine came from. At the time of recording this video, we've got 31 Learned Experience entries in here. So there's quite a few more. Again, there is a Create Lee entry button, but we wouldn't expect you to need to use that. The exception might be that you might want to create a Lee entry just to record information, just to record checklist in combination, for example, in reaching out to the Whurthy team and asking for a feature to be added. So it could be a good way to make some notes and then engage with us and to make a suggestion and, let us know, oh, well, there's, we're having this particular challenge, or we see this opportunity to improve Whurthy services. Is that something you think you could add to the roadmap? So, again, you're welcome to add Lee entries, but Whurthy services is set up to check for the entries in here. Now, again, you won't be able to make edits to key changes such as the process role. So what we'll do is we'll take an example task here or entry. we were looking at a recent video of vacation requests. So we can take a look at the vacation request instructions. So I can click on that. And then we can see that underneath, inside this second card, the process description, this is what's going to appear in the task. Everything else around it, where it doesn't have the sort of like cells and the colored rows and whatnot, this is just information related to what this particular Lee entry is about. And perhaps of most relevance for you would be the process outcome. So here it reads, the vacation request is updated based on the approver's decision. If approved, the time is blocked off for the service provider. So, I mean, we reviewed that in the video, but this provides you a little bit of clarity. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to click on the Edit Lee entry. And just so that you're aware, what you'll be able to see here is the process description field will be editable for you. And we actually would recommend, if you want to make changes to the Lee entry, that you do, if you're not technically comfortable, we recommend that you do put in a support ticket for this. And the reason why is this. I'm going to click on the triple dots, and I'm now going to click on this code button here, the source code, and this takes us into HTML. So HTML is hypertext markup language. HTML is the programming language, to use, I suppose, the most appropriate term, that is behind every web page you see. Every web page that you visit is structured by HTML. And so we've got some HTML that has been put into here. Now you can see here, you can actually find the text. So if you were safe and cautious, you could select everything, copy it and paste it somewhere else and then make some edits. And if you broke it, you could come back and sort of fix it. But it is possible that you could change the formatting. So we would just offer caution before making changes, but we do allow you to make changes because there are going to be some amongst our clients that are going to be technically comfortable, that have built their own web pages in the past. So in our design intention, we recognize that there is a bit of risk that people may come in here and kind of break things, but if you break it, it isn't too serious. Don't be concerned, because really the main thing at this point is the text there. But if I go back here, if I just click on the back button, what would happen if you kind of broke the HTML source code? The worst thing that would happen is you would lose the formatting. And the formatting, as it appears in the task, is designed just to pop out. It's designed to catch the process performer's attention, whoever's been assigned that task. And so really that covers the main and core aspects of Whurthy automation. Just to summarize, the idea of the Whurthy automation feature or aspect of Whurthy service is about ensuring that the right information is given to the right people who are assigned the right tasks at the right time. The PEeP list, the process expertise profile, is really designed to make sure that the right people are assigned. You're going to need to come into the process expertise profile when you have a change in the team member that is responsible for a given task. If you're a larger organization, you're perhaps going to have different people assigned to different process functions in the PEeP list. If you're a smaller organization or a mid-tier organization that has a concierge or a receptionist, you may assign them coordinator and reviewer type tasks, and then you would leave approval type tasks to whoever is responsible for running the location. And if you are a smaller organization where in effect you are running your own business, you're going to put your name in for pretty much every PEeP entry except for tier 2, tier 3 support. Okay. And just to provide a point of clarity in terms of request resolve, at this point in time, we're recommending that we use the request resolve for you as an organization when you are speaking with your customers. So what we're going to recommend is that request resolve be left for you as the using organization of Whurthy services, as our client, as it were. And so what that would allow you to do is to sort of have those tier 1 support questions from your customers and then to mark them resolved. Now, we are going to review this. So if you have any feedback on that, so for example, what that's going to mean is tier 2 and tier 3 support. When you escalate questions to us, that means the Whurthy team is going to mark your questions as answered, because in terms of being resolved, that's reserved for someone on your team for the tier 1 support questions. So please let us know how that experience unfolds for you. If it's something that you don't notice and we don't hear anything, that'll be great. However, obviously, if it turns out that this particular aspect of Whurthy could be improved, we're always curious. We're always interested in suggestions to be able to help inform us to make the best decisions to see to the evolution of Whurthy services. And of course, there is the learned experience engine, which is really about ensuring that the right information is given to the right people. And when it comes to learned experience, and those are the operative words here, as you realize perhaps whether it's vacation requests or prepayment, for example, if you have deposit for services or you have a service where prepayment is required, you can put checklists related to that. When it comes to, for example, a service provider calling in sick, or even payment for a package, or even what appears, even how the perhaps receptionist manages wait lists if you've got that activated. So you have a lot of opportunity to put in checklists, to put in clarity that will allow you to make the Whurthy services automation experience unique and specific to your needs as an organization. And that really is the design intention here. We wanted to provide a meaningful and robust canvas so that you as a team could paint a masterpiece. Whurthy, value made easy.